When I started to look into doing a podcast, I knew I had a lot to share and say, and I wanted to do it in an audio format. I was a little intimidated, not going to lie, about how I was going to go about recording and editing and distributing and all those things because technology is not my strong suit. Naturally, I can learn things. And so when I started to take webinars and ask questions on Facebook and other platforms, I decided that Anchor was the best way to go. It's been a bit of a one-stop shop for me. I can record all of my episodes. I can edit them. It's been really nice because it's free. And when I started to do a podcast, it was, okay, how am I going to rebuild my practice? I had to close my practice down because of COVID, federal mandate. So how was I going to rebuild things? How was I going to give myself something to do? Because this defines me. What I do, it defines me. So I really needed an outlet, and the budget was like nothing. So having this free option has been great. I am recording on my laptop, but I can also record on my phone if I decide that's a way to go, or maybe I don't have my laptop on me. And so that's pretty exciting to know I can do it from there too. They also take and distribute to various apps for people to listen on, which again, that is taking one stressor away from me so I can focus on my content. And if it's something you'd like to do, if you have something you'd like to say, I can't recommend it enough for somebody who's a newbie and starting out. And I feel like even if I wasn't, new at this, it's been something I've been doing for a while, I would still like this platform because of the ease of everything. So if it is something you'd like to look into, you can download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm. That's ANCHOR.fm to get started. Welcome to the Infinite Dance. I'm your host, Carri Arata, Akashic Records reader, psychic sleuth, and spiritual guide. So today's episode is the June Akashic messages. And oh my goodness, do we have a packed June 2021. Before we even get to June, in our last week in May, we have the super full blood moon eclipse on Wednesday, the 26th. And I normally do guided meditations on Wednesdays, and I am going to do 2 that day. So I'll have one in the morning and one in the evening. And I'll let you know a little bit more about those if that is something that you would like to be a part of. They're on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You're welcome to join. So let's first talk about the total lunar eclipse that's happening on this full moon in Sagittarius. What a perfect time and what perfect timing the universe has to bring in this evolutionary change that an eclipse has with it in this time in our lives. And originally I was thinking of this episode as being about decolonization and Palestine, especially what's happening in Palestine, Israel right now. But I'm going to do that next week because I wanted to talk about the June messages, because it's going to be such a packed June and we have so much going on. And I really believe by harnessing these energies, we can find some ease and some grace around what needs to happen with decolonization and the taking over by force, which is colonization of an area, which it's amazing we're still seeing this happen. But because I just don't feel like anybody should be oppressed. So that will be for next week. But the total lunar eclipse is bringing in this evolutionary change, which is, again, great timing. Before we start to harness what it's going to look like to set about these changes, it's good to release and let go of that which no longer serves us, right? Because once we do that, then we leave space for the new that needs to come in. And a lot of when we release something from our soul's history or current goings on, we really need to forgive ourselves and others. So starting with releasing and forgiving anything that had gone on, becoming aware of it. Of course, we want to become aware of it, coming into a forgiveness and going, okay, how am I going to go forward now with this new sense or new information or, something that I know needed to release from my being and my soul. It's happening fast. So with the eclipse, we're going to see these changes ushered in really at a fast rate. So whatever about this time or whatever you're going through that's a part of your soul's plan or contracts will help to bring about these events. If they're not already in your face and you're dealing with them, but the change and the ability to change will start to happen at a fast rate. And we need this. We really, really need this. So thank you, universe, for this amazing timing. We all need to harness in these energies so we can start to move forward in a way that we're not used to. This is all new. That's kind of exciting. We get a clean slate. It's scary because it's new, but it's also amazing and wonderful because it's new. So the channeled let's go into, before I get into the channeled messages, let me just backtrack a minute and we'll talk a little bit about June and why it's so jam-packed. So we're going into it with the super full blood moon eclipse. We have got, it's Pride Month, so happy Pride to all those out there that celebrate that. This is, hello, such an amazing time, so full of joy. And I've talked about this in the past, but I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area in the 80s and the 90s. So I got to take part in the most amazing Pride festivals, I think, ever. They, it's amazing, number one, to be a young person. I think when I started going, I was like 16 or 17. And just seeing so many people just expressing themselves and in costume or in how they felt most comfortable. And there was so much dancing and there was so much camaraderie and there was so much good energy exchange. And it was such a fun time. It was such a fun time. If you do remember that time in the Bay, if that's something familiar to you, would you drop me a message? I would love to hear your experiences too, especially around Pride and just in the Castro. It was just amazing. And of course the flag that represents the pride, gay pride, and diversity is the rainbow flag. So how awesome is that? Love rainbows, bringers of joy, right? After the rain. So this is such a great month to have that, and I was so fortunate to have experienced it the way I did as a young person, and then to see so much have changed and embraced and accepted on a larger scale now. So exciting times, and get out there and celebrate as any way you can in your area, to celebrate, and happy Pride to everybody. We have an annual solar eclipse that happens on the new moon in June, so we'll have that energy too, and that happens every year. Of course, the summer solstice, and being a water baby, I love the summertime. Summertime is one of my favorite. It's my favorite. I love all the seasons, but being that I can get into my beloved lakes at any time during the summer, for the most part, that's one of my greatest joys, my simplest pleasures, I feel like, because a lot of the lakes areas you can access, there are some that you can access and you don't pay to go in. And so it's a free way to relax and be in nature and be in the water in an amazing mountain, fresh water. So summer solstice, return to our joy, find our joy, pursuit of. Welcome to the Infinite Dance. I'm your host, Carri Arata, Akashic Records reader, psychic sleuth, and spiritual guide. So in this episode, we are talking about, or I am talking about, it's just me, Akashic messages for June. And I originally was going to do talk about decolonization and Palestine, Israel, this episode, but I wanted to, there's a lot going on this coming week, and I believe that the energies that are happening this week especially, and then into June, are really going to help with things like decolonization. So before I get off topic, that'll be next week again. This week I'm doing the Akashic messages for June, and I want to start with talking about this last week in May, leading up to June. We have the super full blood moon eclipse, and this energy is a huge harbinger of change that is helping to usher in this evolution that we need right now in the world. And thank you, universe. What amazing timing to do this now, when all these things are culminating, coming together. Things are so in everybody's face, which it needs to be. Like, we need to have stuff right in front of us to go, guess what? There needs to be a new way to go about this. And so this eclipse energy is really going to help that. Now, to help with these changes and to help with this evolutionary spirit, we need to harness releasing that which doesn't serve and no longer serves us. And a part of that release and letting go that helps that process is being able to forgive ourselves and others for goings on that we didn't understand or hurt us in some way. Of course, if there's I know that can be really hard, but when we come into that space of, let's start with ourselves, forgiving ourselves for something maybe we didn't do or didn't know, start with that forgiveness. So then you can bring in and leave space for the new that needs to come in. Okay, that's why you're doing it, to leave space for the new that needs to come in. And whatever is a part of our soul's contracts and plans will be brought about by these events. So if it's not already something you're dealing with, it's going to come up for you, right? Because when we can really step into and see the bigger picture and heal ourselves and leave that space for the new coming in, we've got so much more to work with to move forward, because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for forward movement. Super full blood moon eclipse this Wednesday, the 26th. And I always do Akashic guided meditations on Wednesdays. I am going to do 2 time slots that day, 9 a.m. or 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So 2 times to catch that. It's going to be on Zoom, donation based. And if you are interested, you can send me a message, and I will, at the end of this episode, leave ways you can contact me. If you'd like to be a part of that Zoom Akashic Guided Meditations, receiving messages from our archangels, our ascended masters, our guides, for harnessing this super full blood, or super new, or super full blood moon eclipse. There we go. Mouthful. So when we get into June, then, before I get into channeled messages for June, we've got so much going on. We've got another eclipse. It's an annual solar eclipse, okay? That happens every year. And that'll be on a new moon. That one will be on a new moon. So we'll have another eclipse energy happening. So the eclipse energy that we have happening this week, we already will feel those a good 3 months after one actually takes its full eclipse. And to have another one happen, it's like, wow, this is going to be lots going on. I mean, continued, I keep hearing motion. So there's lots of movement and ability to move. We also have the summer solstice, and what a time to return to our joy, find our joy, pursue our joy, in an expansion of love, right? So summer solstice energy, first day of summer, yes, that solstice energy, the summer solstice energy, really helps to shed light on all the dark places we've been, right? This last year has been dark. It's collectively been tough. And we get to have this huge, expansive, limitless light shed on these dark places we've been with pure compassion. And how blissful is that, to have that space? And almost held. I keep seeing this light holding these ideas, or these instances or circumstances that came up that were tough, or maybe still will be tough, to be held in this nurturing, right? Nurturing space. And of course, we're going into, we'll have Cancer season too in June. And I'll go into the different astrological signs in the month, which will have their own light to help shed. And for me personally, I am a super summer person. I am a water hound, # super soaker. I love natural bodies of water, especially lakes. And summer is, an easy time to swim. You can do it in other months, but it's a lot nicer when it's warm out. So, and that's a huge joy for me, to pursue my joy of finding my bliss when I'm in water. And that's how I find it. So, also June hosts Pride Month. So Pride Month consists of shedding light or celebrating the LGBTQ community, and all the pursuits and work that's been done around equality and civil rights locally, nationally, and globally by the LGBTQ community and for the LGBTQ community, and to help reduce violence and to shed community, so within your certain community visibility. And happy Pride Month coming up, number 1. And I hope you have a chance to celebrate or have. In the past, I probably have talked about this before, growing up in the San Francisco Bay Area in the 80s and 90s and taking part in Pride and the celebrations and the closure of the streets and then dyke marches and, oh my God, everybody just coming out and, with costumes or ways they want to express themselves so freely. And I have the best memories. I have the absolute best memories of going to Pride celebrations in San Francisco. And I've never experienced anything like it, number 1. And number 2, I was really young. I was like 16, 17, being able to experience so much. I mean, seeing people, just the camaraderie, the kindness, the fun. I mean, just this joy, so much dancing. And I feel so blessed to have participated in that. And I'm going to look forward to finding a great Pride celebration here where I'm at, which is a new Northern California area I'm in. So it's not the Northern California I'm from, the Bay. It's a different part. But I will look forward to finding that. I hope you do too, if you can. And, just get into that celebratory spirit. And again, happy Pride Month in June. So let's get into the channeled messages. So again, these are channeled from my guides. Mainly the Archangels are who I get my guidance from, with messages coming in. These are for the collective. Okay, so what do we have in June that our Akashic records are trying to tell us, right, collectively? One of the first images I got was like a blank, like it was a face, like the outline of a face, but you couldn't see eyes or nose or anything. And then it was also a blank, like piece of paper too, right? So it wasn't just a face that was blank. And then as I saw it trying to appear more, I still couldn't see exactly what was on the face or what was on the paper, but it was known then at that point that it was those old magic 8 balls. And remember those when you'd shake it and then the little image would appear in that little window? And it was like coming up from this depths, right? It was dark. It was like this blue, dyed blue water. And your image would appear out of this dark depths. So the message that's coming through from that is what's emerging for you. Okay, you've got a blank slate, right? Because I wasn't getting any specific messages. So it's a blank slate. You get to choose. You get to choose what's going to go on that now. Okay, you shook it up. It was coming in from the depths. And you kind of get to turn over your own personal 8 ball and I'm like, okay, how am I choosing to move forward with what I've just gone through, with the pains or the struggles or the traumas? Now, how am I choosing to move forward with this? Okay, with this information. Because every time we go through something tough, we get more information about ourselves, especially about others too, but mainly about ourselves. Second message I got, or second image, let me go back. It's an image. Second image was beautiful mountains, and they had a bit of snow on them, still. And it was an overcast day, and there was fog rolling in over the mountains. And the message of that was, because the fog was moving. It wasn't just in one place, and like you looked up and it was just there. It was like actually you could see it moving. And the message there is all is being unearthed. Anything that has been frozen, because those mountains had snow on them still, frozen or stuck, will start to thaw out and reveal itself, so it can thaw, right? So it can be known. It doesn't have to be stuck, right? We've heard a lot of either let's not deal with this now, or it'll take care of itself. Those are old ways of thinking that don't work. It's not my problem. It's not going to affect me. Anything like that, okay? Any of those sentences that I just said or stories we've told ourselves aren't going to work. It's like stuck energy, right? But we've got this fog rolling over to defrost, to show what's going to thaw out from the snow that's on those mountains, covering up what's keeping those mindsets in place. Okay, but they've got space and they're having help, right? When you've got movement, you've got help. And so I started hearing music, and it was so cool because I started hearing a bass line, and I started hearing a bass line from Bassnectar. So if you're familiar with that artist, I heard boom, ba boom, ba boom, boom, ba boom, ba boom, 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 and it was so like, yes, I love Bassnectar, number one, and number two, I love that song, and I think what was cool is that it was reminding me of, the times I found joy out in nature. Because a lot of times recently, I'm going to go recently, I was hearing, I would listen when I would be on my walks, and I'd be outside, and I'd be in one of my favorite parks back in Colorado, or on one of my favorite trails. And I haven't done a lot of that in the last year, where I'd go walking. Not that I haven't walked, I've walked, but I haven't walked and listened to music, which I used to love doing, and listening to this album, particularly Cozza Frenzy from Bassnectar. And so the music is really, the bass especially is in your face, the bass in your face. I kept hearing that too when I was hearing the music, and we're kind of getting this root, like the root of what's going on in our face right now. And so that music is harnessing that. Also, if you're not familiar with this music, so it's bass eccentric, it's for having that kind of down, da down, da down. It's very up. There's an upness to it, and some of the songs do get very fast. So it's a faster, more frantic beat. But a lot of it, a lot of this particular artist's music that's heavily, bass, has had a bit of a slower pace to it, so it wasn't super fast. And there was a lot of songs on this album, and especially the song that I was, singing, or however you want to say it, the bass line too. It was a bit of a slower one, and anybody that considers themselves like a bass head, which fans of Bassnectar will call themselves, there's almost this like, and if you're one, you'll know, deep desire to listen to the music. It's like you just got to listen to it. You just got to be at that show, feeling it. It's very passion-filled and heart-centered. And the desire is so strong to not only listen, but to feel those beats, to really feel them. And that really mimics, a lot of those beats really mimics our heart's, rhythms in various stages, right? Whether we're running or we're having a sitting heart rate, boom, 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 boom. I used to love turning it up in my car too. I don't know why. That was even more gratifying to listen to that particular song in my car. Oh, I actually did listen to it recently, but I wasn't on a walk. I was driving. So when I first moved back to Northern California last August, I lived about an hour from the biggest city. So anytime I needed to go shopping or to certain appointments, I would have to make this hour drive to and from, right? So it's 2 hours round trip. So I was actually listening. He's one of the people I kept a CD from. I got rid of all my old CDs and cassettes, and I still have Cozza Frenzy, and I would listen to it. That is actually one of the original places I was listening to the music. It's so funny. So I would listen to it driving in the from the town of Reno back into the small mountain town I was living in. And that's one of the first times I would put it on. And to have the trees line these little 2-lane road, foresty roads, it just sounds so good. Whether it's light out still or it's dark, it's nighttime. And when I used to come and visit family, when I was living in Colorado, I would make the drive. One of my favorite hot springs is about halfway to where I used to live. So it was like a half-hour drive. And so I would listen to this album. So I guess it's coming around a little full circle that I was listening to it in a car here. In Colorado, I was listening to it on my walks and hikes on earbuds. But either way, it's great. And having that root, feeling this heart-centered music that's grounding too. There's something grounding about feeling the rhythm coming up through your body. Makes you really feel present and aware of your space, of your being in the space you're in, right? You kind of have that super sense of awareness of where you are and who you are in that space and time. So cool. So cool. And I know I went off on a tangent on that one. I really like music. I miss live music a ton. I can't wait for my first concert since COVID, and I'm not sure what that's going to look like yet, because again, I'm in a new area. But hopefully I make it back to Colorado to see some live music at Red Rocks, and if that is something you have never done, I highly recommend it. It is never gets old, ever. It is a magical, magical, magical place. And anybody who's been there to see a show and knows what I'm talking about, and I can only imagine what it would be like to be an artist, musician, performing there, and how that would feel. So the last image that came, there was a lot. See, June is packed. June is packed. It wasn't so much an image, it was something I heard. So I was in meditation and I heard it, but it was serendipitous that it came while I was in meditation for this specific reason. a train went by. And so there's train tracks. I believe it's called the Zephyr that comes through a lot too. Through the Sierra Nevadas. But the train going by represents this forward movement, right? It's kind of always moves forward. It might go back and forth, but it's always going forward. And I would see like the universal you or us, right? Like at the head. So driving or conducting the train. And you had a feather, a beautiful, brightly colored. So not something, well, maybe it would happen in nature, but brightly colored feather. And I'm seeing a bit of a blue-green, like on the top of the head. So it's almost like you're leading with this celebratory movement. And I got an image. This was really cool. So then the image came after I heard the train. An image came of a samba dancer. So if you're familiar with that dance style, it's very quick. There's lots of movement. There's lots of fast movement with the feet. I've tried it. I never personally got super into that, but it did. And then I did see an old teacher of mine that I used to take classes from back in Colorado. And so I saw her face, and her beautiful hair and her spirit with her samba outfit on. Now I would take Afro-Brazilian from her. And I felt so grateful to have taken those classes, totally life-changing, to dance to the live drums and to dance in unison with others, dancers and musicians, and spirit through orishas, through the guide of this teacher. And if you are in Colorado, I'm going to give a shout out to her. The dance troupe and the dance classes are Samba Colorado, and the leader, dance teacher, is Cabrina De Jesus. And if you have a chance, please seek her out. Her classes are amazing. She is an amazing teacher. She is a fierce woman and a humble warrior, and amazing dancer and teacher. And the classes are just life harnessing. I mean, you really feel, again, so present and so grounded and in your body, in the space. And I think that's really important right now. So anyways, if you're in Colorado, please check her out. And here we have all this movement that's coming through in these images and these visions. And this is wonderful. And it almost feels like there's no way we can't start to make these changes with all this help with movement, with forward movement that is so needed. Archangel support during all of this, guiding over these messages. Archangels Alexandra and Sandalphon, as above, so below, is their message. And to give you some company, Archangel Alexandra especially, offer you company while you're on these journeys. A lot of these journeys you're going to go on will be solo. So look to her, Archangel Alexandra. I call, this is Metatron. So I'm calling Metatron Alexandra. So however you communicate with Metatron, that's the same energy. Archangel Chamuel came to offer, of course, heart-centered, gaining a sense of peace with yourself so that you can have peace with the world and never losing sight of your mission, right? That it's coming from heart. If it's coming from heart, this is the right mission. This is exactly what you need to be doing. Archangel Ariel, how are we paying attention to our outer environment and inner environment, right? They're both the same. And to remember to play, remember to, part of that inner and outer environment is having a sense of play. Archangel Raziel came also. And Raziel comes when we're needing assistance with new information that's coming through, especially third eye information. And he always presents to me very sparkly, and like the path of this new knowledge to higher realm, to third eye, is always on this like rainbow road. So I think how perfect and how fitting during Pride Month, here we are, and we've got Archangel Raziel support, who again presents to me sparkly and with the rainbow path. So those are the archangels that are coming through. Archangel Alexandra also offered a shield for the collective. So this is a collective shield, and it's of labradorite. Okay, so that's that beautiful, it's in the moonstone family, beautiful blue with striations of yellow and white going throughout it. And also aragonite, and that is a like burgundy colored stone. It's actually kind of sparkly, very grounding. And labradorite comes in, and if you've had private sessions, anytime we're needing to incorporate new information and we're needing a bit of time we're listening, we're receiving, and the labradorite's a bit of an incubation time, so it's really going to help hold us while we're receiving all of this. And the aragonite will help to ground. Okay, and anytime you can practice your grounding techniques, or holding a piece of this stone will help, because when you're doing the astral traveling, whether you're meditating or you're dreaming, you're going to want to stay as grounded as you can, because the ability to go there is easier at this time. And so it can make you feel or leave you feeling a little lightheaded or a little ungrounded. Okay, so kind of get back into your body with that. And along with the shield coming on. Okay, so the shield came on, right? And it came in the shape of the Vitruvian Man. And it wasn't just like the star, right? Like five-sided star shape. It was definitely like Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man. And so with that, there was this culmination, right? The Vitruvian Man of portraying symmetry in the human frame, and the beauty and complexity of the human frame, and also to integrate or see how it's all connected, the architecture, art, human and human anatomy in one image. And I think that's really important as we're going into Gemini Cancer season, of being able to know that we have innately in us this ability to provide, to nurture ourselves, to create, to do all the things we need to do. And so first we have Gemini energy coming in, right? Happy birthday to all Geminis. And, they really kind of harness this collective mindset. There's a bit of, and of course this is in general, so every soul's so different. It doesn't matter what astrological sign you're born under, every soul is so different. But the Gemini energies that get associated with it are ability to talk to anybody about anything. And I'm like, yes, please, we need to talk and have space for all of us to talk about all the things. It doesn't matter how hard or how difficult or how scary, right? How vulnerable. We have that somebody to hold space for that. That's a start. And they are also considered, Gemini energy is a bit of a social butterfly of the zodiac. And I think we're all ready for a little socializing, don't you? I know I am. I kind of linger a little long at the grocery store, and then I'm like, oh my God, people, it's such a weird. I love people, and I love being around people and interacting, and but sometimes I think it's overwhelming because of what we've been through. So maybe this Gemini energy season will really help us with that, integrating back into society and having a little bit of a social butterfly attitude when we're out. And then the image, right? So there's the twins image with Gemini. And I kept seeing that dancing twins emoji when they have the bunny ears. And like the left leg is kind of outstretched, and there's these large, bunny ears. And then the message that was coming through was like this double amount of energy for all things, including listening, right? So we talk about anything, but let's listen. Let's listen and have space. And we can still include an element of fun, even if we are holding space for something tougher. There can be a lightness around it too, right? It doesn't have to go so to the one side and just be that way. Like, it can have both. It can have both, and I think that's important. To have, lots of different elements, and know that space is available. So it doesn't mean you have to, but just knowing that space is available, that you can have both. So the Gemini energy coming in, and then Cancer. We'll see Cancer energy through June. And happy birthday to Cancer is coming up too. I will say that again later in the month. And of course, the crab represents Cancer and Cancer energy, Cancerian energy. And the image that came with the Cancer was Cancer molting or shedding of its shell. It sheds the old. And when a crab gets ready for their new shell, so after they've gotten rid of their old, they kind of have this thin film that they have come all over, and they start to come up to eat and drink to gain strength, which, is nourishing. And then they enlarge themselves to harden to their new shell. And to me, that's expanding to take up your space. So important, right? So important. Take up your space. And this crab have shown us too. I see a lot of images of crabs on beaches, which is sad. And they've molted their old shell, and they pick up like whatever's on the beach, like even if it's like plastic or something that's not natural. And they kind of have this, plastic shell, but there's this adaptability to what's around. And that can be good, but to discern, Archangel Chamuel came at this point in the Cancerian energy to remind us to know how to latch or secure. So whatever you do, shell you are having, and whatever is housing you, make sure you know how to secure yourself. Okay, so that's setting boundaries. So know it. I think getting shown the adaptability of the debris, which, yuck. But if that, for some reason, is what's available, that you know how to be safe around it. Okay, and secure. And Cancerian energy also comes and lets us know that there is this inner knowing on how to care for ourselves, and that you have that ability. That ability is there for you. And I kept seeing this crab with this new, the old shell molted and the new shell on, and there's this forward movement. It's like walking forward, right? Very strong. And again, we had to train with the forward movement, and now the crab, like moving forward really strong. So these were a lot of messages. I knew this was going to be a long one. I had a feeling because June is just going to, June has so much, even in this week. So I told you about the guided meditations. If you'd like to, of the guided meditations, and those are going to be on Zoom, and they're every Wednesday, but this Wednesday, so the 26th of May, they'll have a 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if you would like to be a part of that, you can send me an email at Carri Arata, that's CarrylynArata @gmail. And let me know you'd like to join that, and I'll send you the Zoom link. And they are always by suggested donation, suggested 13, but nobody's turned away for lack of funds. So please come. I'd love to have you there at either of those times. Every Wednesday it's at 9:30, moving forward. And if you'd like to continue or you have questions about anything that goes on in the podcast episodes, I have a Facebook group for the Infinite Dance called the Infinite Dance. So I'd love to have you there. Listener support's always welcome. That really helps to keep this podcast going. You can support through the platform you're listening on, or have a Patreon, and you're welcome to donate there. And it's patreon.com/the Infinite Dance. If you'd like a private reading to find out how things are going to go for you personally during the month of June, you can reach me at ancientbodyworks.co. I am on Twitter at Infinite Dance 8. So you can always reach me there also. And I'm going to start vending. So if you are in the Northern California, Lake Tahoe, Reno, Nevada area, I will be vending at events throughout the summer. And I do have the Infinite Pillow, which you can purchase right now on my Patreon. And I do have an Etsy shop called the Infinite Dance. And I'm also on YouTube. So if you'd like YouTube, this podcast is being aired on YouTube, or being distributed on YouTube. And I do have, right now I have one in particular guided meditation on YouTube that you are welcome to access at any time. And that one is for accessing codes, especially codes that would have to do with an 1111 or 111 energy. So if that's something you're interested in or looking into, you can find that there on YouTube, The Infinite Dance. And I look forward to bringing you more episodes every Tuesday. And keep peeling back the layers and keep asking yourselves and others, may I have this dance?